All right, welcome to part 3 of this case study with Coda's reactivity. So far, we have passed by the initial couple walking their dog on a flexi lead, allowed him to get within 10 to 15 feet of Coda, and their dog was expressing behaviors that triggered Coda into a reaction. So we kind of went through all of that, and part of the nuance to that, as part of the context to that, was that this corgi up here was in the house ahead of us, and he is on an e-fence that encapsulates their entire yard. So we had to wait to go across the street, go around, and then come back. So now we're at the edge of where their e-fence is, and I'm trying to allow Coda to have as much opportunity as possible to utilize his coping mechanisms and try to de-escalate himself from this scenario. Part of what I wanted to talk about a little bit is what makes this scenario for Coda different than the last scenario with the other dog, because the other dog, Coda had a reaction. This one, Coda is still expressing discomfort. He's still having a hard time with removing himself and utilizing other measures besides trying to interact with this dog, but he's not doing a full-blown reaction. So part of what makes this a little bit different is the space. There is more space between Coda and this dog than what was allotted between the other dog and Coda. I would say if I was to gauge distance, the other dog was probably around a little bit where their front sidewalk is, possibly a few feet closer than that. So distance matters to a dog, to their safety bubble, to where they feel comfortable. This dog is also smaller. Coda has a harder time with dogs that are larger than dogs that are smaller because he's a large dog, so he doesn't feel as threatened by smaller dogs. And the other dog that he reacted to, it was a medium-sized dog, and it was also having a very heavy, hard stare. Now, this dog, you can see right now that it has a hard stare, but it was kind of intermittently switching between having a hard stare and then doing a peripheral side glance, staring instead of being front on. Because this dog is a little bit nervous of Coda with Coda's size, and also with Coda, me, and my husband being there. He knows he's outnumbered. So he is a little bit more threatened into not trying to decrease the distance that he has maintained in his yard. And he's expressing discomfort, but he's also not vocalizing like the other dog was. So it's just overall a little bit less threatening than the other dog due to size and a little bit differences in the body language being presented. So just a brief synopsis here that I touched on at the very end of the last episode, going over the body language briefly of this corgi. So this corgi, he's very, very stiff. You can even tell in this image. So he is not moving. He pretty much just stands exactly where he is. His tail is very, very high, and it is very stiff. That also would express discomfort, some anxiety there. His ears are completely forward facing, and his face, you can't see it here, but his face is tense, as it would be, you would expect it to be. And here he is doing a hard stare in Coda's direction. So a hard stare would mean that they're not blinking, their eyes are a little bit wider, and just very fixated. And so this makes Coda a little bit uncomfortable, and it makes him leads him to trying to, try to figure out what this dog is about, what his intent is, and just trying to navigate this situation himself while I'm here being present to support him. This is the picture from the previous video that I ended on, and you can kind of see the same thing. Very stiff body language, a lot of hard staring in Coda's direction, and just not moving from his spot, very forward facing, but you'll notice his body is a little bit perpendicular to Coda instead of being front face on, because like I said, he's a little unsure. He's confident enough to stay in the yard, stay where he is, rather than trying to run up the porch, which he could very well do, because he is confident enough, because this is his home environment, that he's like, hey bro, this is my spot, but he doesn't feel comfortable enough to go any further than that. behavioral wise, or in any real means. He's expressing he's uncomfortable, but he doesn't want to push any buttons because he's outnumbered and he's outsized. Okay, so here we are after he had his reaction. The other dog has passed a little bit. I'm allowing Coda to cross the street and take in all the smells of the other dog after they've passed. I'm really trying to make my goal to help him de-escalate and give him a little bit more of an emotional buffer to handle passing the corgi next. So I'm just doing some treat scatters like you'll see me do here in a second. And I'm just trying to encourage him to engage with me, giving him some space, obviously, being all the way across the road from the house. Here we go. Here's the treat scatters, trying to help engage his nose, bring his nervous system down, bring his digestive system back online. You'll see he's kind of engaging with me pretty well. He struggles here and there watching the other dog, but you see he's trying so hard to engage with me. He's working really hard, thinking through, using me as support. You'll see he's a little intrigued by the other dog, but he comes right back with me. So he's doing so well, and this is where we're walking that, that thin line there, trying to give him choices, trying to allow him to think things through. Coda does best when I give him opportunity to just kind of stand and watch. So that's why I'm trying to give him that time to do that. He's kind of intermittently putting some pressure on the leash because he's very curious about the other dog. He's a little unsure of what to do, a little unsure of what the other dog's doing. You'll see here they're kind of perpendicular to each other. They're both kind of displaying some nervousness, looking at each other. Coda's trying to sniff the air, get some more information about the other dog. I'm giving a little bit of leash pressure to kind of help give some distance since he was starting to be a little bit more closer to his threshold than I'd like. Starting to kind of not listen, get a little more fixated. Wasn't really wanting to take some treats here. So that was where I decided he needed a little bit of leash pressure, some guidance to get some distance. And then he kind of recovered pretty well. Did some treat scatters to help, bring him back down and just continued on our merry way. Okay, so let's do another breakdown of the body language going on here between both the dogs. So Coda's a little bit fixated here, right? His tail is curled, but it's only about halfway. He doesn't have a bunch of wagging. It is a little stiff, so he's just a little uncertain, but not necessarily overstimulated. He's doing a little bit of crouching, a little bit of creeping, because he's just generally unsure of how to interact and communicate with this dog. The other dog, the corgi here, he's perpendicular to Coda. His tail is up, it's stiff. All of the body language we were talking about before. You can see Coda's doing a little bit more creeping here, but he's keeping kind of a girth here. The leash isn't completely taut. He's choosing to kind of keep a distance, but just keep, a wide girth and monitor the other dog. The other dog has not moved whatsoever, but he is refusing to be front on with Coda because he's trying to passively be like, hey, can you please leave? Without being too confrontational about it. Coda kind of loops around here, a little bit more of a girth once again, right? And then the other dog kind of sees Coda walking away as his cue that he can kind of gain a little more space. This is what kind of causes Coda to freeze here and get a little overstimulated because the distance has decreased between them, related to each other. And so Coda then becomes a little bit more confrontational. You see he's turning a little more face on towards the dog, who has also turned a little more face on with him. I noticed that, so that's where I'm trying to give Coda some distraction here. Coda's not taking the treats. The other dog's tail is beginning to wag. He's a little more stimulated. So I'm sensing the increase in the tension here, so I'm decreasing the distance by giving a little leash pressure, walking away so Coda is more inclined to walk with me, and then I do some treat scatters. Okay, so I've once again run out of time to continue this video. So we have one more dog that we have not yet passed after this corgi, and then that will be the end. So I will put that in the next part 4. Oh, there we go, part 4. So I will work on that, and hopefully within the next day or two, I'll be able to have that posted. And that should be the last one. I don't anticipate it taking as long as these other ones have. So save this so that you can kind of refer to it for body language information. Follow me if you want to get notifications for the next part. I kind of routinely in general try to post dog education here and there. And I will see you in part 4.